Well, I hear
Whatever.
you.
Hey, happy Friday, everybody. It's Betsy Phillips with Baird and Warner. And this week I have these big Bose headphones on because my other headphones are not working. But totally unimportant because I have Shira Schwartz here with us. She is an educational advocate. And right now we are all of you who are parents, I'm sure it's not easy for any of you, especially people that have kids with special needs at any part of the spectrum. So
Right.
Shira is here to help us with some tips and to guide us through. So hey, welcome, Shira.
Thank you. Yeah, this is kind of an unprecedented time. We know that we've never experienced anything like this, and what our kids are having to do and what our teachers are having to do for them is above and beyond anything we ever thought would be happening. So, we do see a lot of issues with remote learning. There are also a lot of positives about remote learning. So I'm going to share a little bit of each of those.
Okay.
And I have I have one left in high school and two who are in college. But I advocate for kids who are between 3 and 18 years old. So I've seen kind of the spectrum of what is going on out there with kids who have a variety of needs, kids who are nonverbal and are having to do remote learning, which is, you can imagine the challenge, or maybe you can't, but it's unbelievable the challenges, and then all the way through. Kids who are taking, every single class they have is an AP class, but things are different now for them. So, things get in the way, like executive functioning and how do I start and what am I supposed to do? And now I'm overwhelmed and I can't find the link, and I'm at home. And, a lot of what I see is, when you're at school, um, no matter what grade you're in, you look around and you see, oh, Betsy's over there doing that, and Sam's over there doing that, and my teacher's writing something on the board, and um, I'm going to do what Betsy's doing because I see that she started reading her book, or Sam started writing, doing his math
Notes.
problems. So I'm going to do that.
And
I'm going
some
to
of it's
follow along.
subconscious, I'm sure. They're not
Right,
even
right.
thinking that. You just operate, when in
Yeah.
Rome, do as the
Yeah, well,
Romans
you're
do.
just used to doing that, and
Right.
you have these cues that you're used to. Exactly. You
Hmm.
don't even think about it. It's automatic. Exactly.
Right.
And now you're sitting at home and you're like, okay, no one's doing anything over there. No one's doing anything over there. And there's my bed, and there's my video game, and there's my, and this is really hard. And so my problem solving in my mind is not where it should be, and my problem solving is going to tell me to go avoid my work. Instead of problem solving, like, should I ask the teacher? Should I, phone a friend, or, whatever? There are many ways to get help. Um, and then things kind of slide and things can pile up. So that's where I'm seeing like the majority of the problem: overload of work, I'm not understanding.
And I can see, like, you're in a Zoom meeting and you're watching and you're down here texting away. And,
Right.
teacher can't, I mean, even if she sees you, what is she going to do? Stop the whole class and say,
Mhm.
stop texting, and they're
Right.
going to go, what are you going to do about it? Um,
Yeah, the
that's
the
rough.
engagement piece I think is really hard. I think students, um, you know, uh, a famous educational psychologist had written a book, The Myth of Laziness, years ago. Um, and basically, the book was about children want to succeed if they can. Nobody wants to fail. Um,
Right.
but the trick is maybe they don't know how to do it. So I don't think that these kids are being lazy. I think that there are things, stumbling blocks that are getting in their way, that are not allowing them to move forward. So the challenge is we have to figure out what these stumbling blocks are, and we have to figure out how do we increase the engagement. Just like you said, like there are so many other things out there that can take our attention. So how do we increase the engagement?
So,
And yeah, and there are ways to do that. Yeah.
so yes, let's talk about that. And before we do, I just want to say, that Shira is what I think I want to explain a little bit about what you do from my own. Uh, I was a learning disabled student back in the 60s
Mhm.
when I was lazy. So that's what I was called, like a troublemaker, right? Then I have
I
all my
doubt
kids.
that was true. I doubt it.
Oh, yeah, but you know why?
No, but
Because
Betsy, I think it was a learned behavior. You
well,
wanted to, and then
here's
you just got tired of trying
right,
so hard.
which is exactly what Shira is saying. That kids that are labeled troublemaker, class, there is an underlying something, and that's what Shira can help you with. It wasn't that I didn't want to do it. I could not see anything that was in front of me. So if I was reading something, it was like a jumble bunch of letters. There was no way I could figure out what that was. So I just, acted out my frustration. So there are so many issues, and I want parents out there to know that by reaching out to someone like you have a vast resources to help, that you're not
Yeah,
alone. There is so much help, and there's so much more help today, that you are invaluable to anyone. It's not just have kids, send them to school, and they'll, everything's
right,
hunky dory.
right.
So I just had to put that
Well,
little
yeah, I mean,
explain.
and exactly what happened to you, I think, happens to a lot of people,
Mhm.
a lot of students. In particular, my own
Mhm.
child, who's profoundly dyslexic. Um, he didn't really get the right instruction, and the teachers didn't really know how to work with him in the best way that they could. And so they would just keep saying, "You're not trying. Come on, just read. You're not trying." And he's sitting there thinking, "Okay, I've tried, and now I'm getting really frustrated because you don't think I'm trying. And now it's an emotional issue now. And so now I'm going to throw my pencil, or now because now I'm really frustrated." Um, so, part of it
Yeah.
is figuring out um, how to navigate those things. And that, in the age of Zoom and remote learning, that could look like, what are the expectations? I mean, how do kids, I mean, aside from high school kids who really should know, how do kids um, learn how to have Zoom etiquette in terms of, if you're a third grader, do you know that you're not supposed to run out of the room and go to the bathroom? Do you know you're not supposed to? Do you remember all the time to mute it? Is it okay to have your dog sitting next to you? What are the expectations? And on the flip side of it, I have had calls with parents who say, my student is, they signed, they're required to do the Zoom etiquette, and they had signed that they're going to keep their camera on, except for my daughter she missed the directions to the problem, and she got behind, and then she was working on that one, and everybody else was working on the next one. Then she didn't know the directions to the next problem, and so she's already 3 or 4 questions behind, and she starts to get worried, starts to get anxious, starts to tear up, doesn't know how to problem solve, and gets, she's embarrassed. She doesn't want to start crying on Zoom.
Okay.
Turns her camera off, runs out of the room crying, then gets in trouble because her teacher didn't realize. I'm sure that if her teacher knew what was going on and the back scene of that, that happens when a teacher's in a classroom and can say, "Oh, Sarah, I see you're on question 2 when we're on question 6. Let's help you catch up. Let's help you figure out how to get where you need to be." Um,
Right.
and that can't happen on Zoom. She's not looking at her paper, so
So what do we do? Let's start with the
yeah.
youngsters. You have tips, or
Yeah.
yeah.
So everything that teachers have to do now has to be completely explicit, and even more than usual. So the schedule, just the same as you would have a schedule printed on the board or whatever. I mean, I remember I had a pocket chart when I was, teaching elementary school. You have a pocket chart, and the pocket chart has, at this time we're doing this time we're doing this time we're doing this, and it has a
Right.
list. And um, throughout the day, I would say, "Oh, Johnny, I noticed you're looking at the pocket chart to see what we're doing next. I love that. That's a good strategy to figure out what you need to do. And then he gets that feeling like, "Ooh, I just did the teacher liked what I did." Okay, so how do you do that on a Zoom? It's similar, but you just don't think about it. You actually have to do that. You have to create this plan and schedule for, um, and it's got, I've seen teachers who make them. Um, the schedule should look the same every day so that they get used to seeing that schedule. It's a visual schedule with pictures. Um,
Uh, so,
and for younger kids, not words. It's got to have a lot of pictures. Yeah.
what about the parents? How much
Hmm.
are the
Yeah.
parents expected? I mean, with the little kids, I guess like in junior high, or depending on your student, I could see the parents being somewhere else. I
Right.
mean, obviously there's an adult somewhere, I would think, up to a certain age.
Yeah. I mean, this is
Uh,
a real gray area, I think, and it's come up a lot. The other day I had a call with a parent, and it was a mom, and she said, it's even written into my daughter's plan that mom is going to blah 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 blah. And I'm thinking, what? Like, it's written in a plan? No, 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 no. This is, parents are there to, support as needed. No parent wants to see their child fail. However, what I've suggested, um, as much as possible, um, take documentation on where your child needs support, where they need the hand over hand, where they need you to read what does the support that you're giving them look like? And how can we turn that back around so that the school can provide that support? Um, and what are ways in which that could happen? So, um, we do want to have partnerships, and so it's going to have to be on an individual basis. There are times when, the teacher's not going to be able to do that, but there are times when an aid or a small group lesson can happen that the child can get that support, and
so
we
will they
figure out how that can happen.
so will they break out so that like the aides are still doing what the aides do,
Mhm.
or maybe
Yeah.
for all us dyslexic fans out there, brothers and sisters, um,
Yes.
uh, can they provide audio? So, if you're getting like instructions are read to the
Yeah.
child, is there a
Well,
way
you know,
somebody?
for example, there's a program they can mash together, um, called there's so many of them. One of them is called Edu Creations, something like that. It's
Mhm.
basically a virtual whiteboard that
Mm,
has a recording. So in
mm,
essence, you could record your lesson. The child could rewatch it if they missed it or needed, an additional support. Teachers compare students together. They can give them a preview ahead of time. Hey, watch this video. We're going to be talking about this.
mhm.
Here's some context. Here's 3 questions to look out for while we're talking today. That or it's kind of like, when we were younger, we had Cliff Notes. Um,
Mhm.
and a lot of times, honestly, because I think I was probably in your boat, undiagnosed something or other, but I used to read the Cliff Notes before I'd go to class. So I'd have, you know,
A frame of
a leg in
reference.
the game. Yeah, I just needed something to, what are we doing here today? I don't
Right.
even get,
Someplace you needed hooks in your brain to connect
right.
the
And then I could be in the lesson, like I could raise my hand, I could answer a question. I didn't because if you don't have that context, you can zone out and you won't be engaged.
mm-mm,
Then you start
mm-mm.
texting like what you were saying.
And then
So,
you think you have ADD. But you don't have ADD.
exactly.
You and I'm not saying anything. I mean, my kids are all ADD, but not all of them. But you are. And I saw this once, and I don't know if you use it, but there's something where you can put something over a page and say to somebody, "Okay, read this," and it makes the letters move around, and then they're like,
Mhm.
"Whoa, I can't read this." And
Right,
then they can feel what the dyslexic child or a person is feeling, because there is no way that they're not seeing what we're seeing. So that's a good
right.
tool. I don't
Well,
know
and
where
it's interesting that you picked up on that because I think, what you said is is a lot of like misunderstanding or perception difference.
Mhm.
Um, you can think that someone has an attentional problem, but it could be that something's too hard or and they don't understand it, so they go and stop paying attention, but they don't really have attention problems. They just don't understand what's going
Right,
on. Or they're
right.
lost, like the little girl who, in the math class. Um, but I do want to say on the flip side of it, what's good about this? So, what's good about this is a great opportunity. And if it's not already happening, it can happen for students to start building independence. Um, I do need to be a little bit more independent. I don't have, mom is not going to help me today. I'm going to have to do this on my own. How do I organize my links? How do I keep up with all of that? What is my new system going to be? It may take me a little while to develop that. Um, and things like how do I stay on top of my homework? I have assignments in 3 classes. Where do I start? What do I do? What are the next steps? How do I know I'm finished? What do I do when I'm done? Do I, I was just listening to a Zoom call of high school. I uploaded it to Schoology. How do I know how to do that? So all of these things are things I think that kids can start to learn.
So that's great. So I think what I'm hearing and what the message that I think I would like to get out to people, I so appreciate people that do what you do, Shira, because obviously I see a great need for it. And it helps everybody. It's a win-win for the teacher. It's a win-win for the rest of the class. It's a win-win for the student if we can come up with strategies and ways to
Mhm.
help kids feel empowered and successful. And bottom line is it's too much for parents to
Mhm.
know, to figure out, to have the resources. So please get the help you need. We're so fortunate in our community that we can. And
And we have good schools here
right.
that really can problem solve together. I mean, yesterday I was in a meeting with a school team and we were discussing how to solve a problem for a particular kid. And I felt like it was, a writing problem. They felt like it was a behavior problem. The kid doesn't want to do it. We came together and figured out that we needed to, what we needed to do to get this child to be able to move forward. And I was like, I love the way that we collaborated and partnered on this. And we got to the solution. So I couldn't have
That's
done
it.
it on my own. I
Right.
had to have their input and their perspective. And then we figured it out together. So I think
And
partnerships are key.
yeah, and that's beautiful. And that's one step at a time, one child at a time, one lesson at a time. It's just going to make the world a better place. I so appreciate you talking with us.
Well, I'm grateful for you sharing this, like you said, to get the word out there that I think a lot of parents, not a lot, but probably a lot. I don't know what's really all out there because I only hear what's hard. Nobody calls me and says, "Oh, this is great." But I think there are a good number of parents who are struggling out there and need some help.
Yes, I think so. I definitely think so. And we're blessed, like I said, to have Shira. Somehow you got muted.
There, yeah,
There
yeah.
we go. In our midst. So you can find all her contact information on my YouTube channel, Betsy Phillips Realty, and my Facebook. You can contact me if you need to get a hold of Shira. You can contact Shira. I've got all her information. And thank you. And
Thank
everybody, please
you.
stay safe and enjoy the weekend.
All
Thank you
right.
for
Thanks,
joining us. Shira.
Betsy. I
Have a
appreciate you having me on today.
wonderful day. Thanks.